Right. That's true.
Everybody, welcome to the new media show. Of course, I've got my co-host typing away on his computer, trying to send out a tweet, letting everybody we're live. Hey, Rob, welcome to the show.
It's great to be back on the show, Todd. It's always great to do this show. We've been doing this show, I don't know how many years now.
It's over
Has it
10.
been
It's
8?
I think it's over 10 at this point. I'll have to go back and
Over
look.
10 years. Yeah.
It's a long time.
Almost every Saturday, right?
Yeah, almost. I was putting together a TV stand when you texted me at 10:30 this morning. Said, "Are we doing the show?"
It just tells you how prepared we are, right?
Yeah. I've since I went to CES this year, I made a decision to do interviews a little bit differently. I went and made contacts, and I've got a stack of business cards, really about that thick. And all these companies now, when I told them what I was going to do, they're all like, email me, hey, we want to get involved on this. We're sending you stuff. So I get this I'm getting this pile of, gear, some of it that has to go back in 30 days. And I'm thinking, I'm not ready to start doing these interviews the way I told them, because I had to transform the demo room, which is over there. So I've had to order a computer, a monitor, actually two monitors, some stuff from New Tech so I could run another digital IP thing, so it's just like, I'm thinking, I didn't realize that going to this new format was going to cost me $1,500 to get it set up to do it.
To actually follow through on it,
to follow through, right? And I'm like, and I kind of knew in my head I was going to have to do this anyway, but it's just one of those things where you're starting to like dig through your cable boxes, and you're like, I need 2 of those cables. I don't have them. You have to order them, so between now and Monday, I told my sister, because all this stuff comes to my sister's back porch because I'm in the loft in the garage. I told her, I said, there's going to be a pile of stuff coming, and some of it's high value. Please take it off the porch, and I'll grab it in the evenings. But I was putting together a TV stand and putting, hey, one thing that's beautiful is TCL. They sell some pretty cheap TVs, and they work as a computer monitor, or you can tie them into, you can put an HDMI into them. You can run a Mac on them, and what I'm looking at right in front of me, it's not this is not something they do make good series of TCLs, but the cheap ones, they're really designed, it's probably for a kid's room or something like that. And they're not the best quality.
How large are they? I mean,
you can get them like the one I ordered that I just put on a TV stand. It's just small, it's 32 inches. And then the one that I've got coming for the back wall where I can look and monitor stuff is 42, just the same as this one here. And and again, people can't see it here, but I'm basically like at the TriCaster screen in front of me, instead of having to look over here and look at you sideways. So, and it's, could I've done it a little different, but yeah, sure. And, Amazon sells a very good, for everyone that's looking for a TV stand that's on wheels, $61. It is absolutely the best TV stand.
Wow.
And anybody wants a link to it, let me know. They're cheap and they're great. And, because most TV stands are like $300-$400. And, but these are on wheels, $61. Went down from $79. I was quite pleased.
Yeah.
So anyway, enough studio stuff. Maybe I'll do the show standing up one time from over there. We'll see.
Yeah, you could do that. Sure. It'd be an interesting change.
Yeah, it'd be a little fun. But so what's going on in the podcasting space? All I heard about from complaining from some people this week, and I don't normally want to start with a talk about complaining, is getting spammed.
Spammed from what perspective? I haven't heard about this.
There's a new podcast host in India called Hubhopper. And apparently they're sending, and I was just looking at it on actually, let me bring it up here. There we go. I was looking at it, and so they're an Indian podcast host. So I guess they're going after.
I did hear about these guys. I didn't know that they were spamming people. I just heard that they were getting involved in. Yeah, there's stuff going on with India right now. That's for sure.
Yep. So looks like quite the quite the lineup. Of course, see some of these are international, but if I scroll
Right.
back up here, these are definitely Indian-based shows. And
Well, there's also
are they being? Let me see if they're being done in. Are they being done in? I'll turn the volume up here. We'll see.
Well, there's also streaming music platforms in India that are looking at podcasting and have been for a while now.
So anyway, Hubhopper, and they've been.
Yep. That's a huge market. It's a huge market.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? Over 1 billion people, something like that, or about 1 billion?
I'm not sure, but I know that if you look at Bollywood and everything goes on there,
right.
It shouldn't be a surprise that they would be creating content. So they're all into, I think, dramas and that type of stuff is big there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
Of course, Korean dramas are big, in a lot of Asian homes too. So at what point are we going to start seeing Korean dramas being made into podcasts and then translated into English?
Right.
So, if any,
I think there's a lot of stuff happening in Asia right now too. So these big countries around the world are really starting to get on the bandwagon here of podcasting.
When I was living in Hawaii, my daughter would have a Korean drama in, and I kept finding myself getting sucked in. All they are is soap operas,
right?
Love stories. They're true dramas. And you could get sucked in for 8, 9, 10 hours watching a Korean drama. So if the TV versions are good, I'm sure the podcast versions will be just as good.
Right. So Todd, did you hear that there was another platform that got IAB certified?
I've never heard of these guys before. Who are they?
It's is it the Empire Streaming Company? I guess they're out of Pittsburgh as well. That's where Libsyn is based as well. So now there's 2 certified companies out of Pittsburgh.
So Empire,
of all places.
Empire. Yeah. I've never. It's a big dollar amount. Who are these folks? Empire Streaming. The audio CDN.
Yeah. Oh, they're part of Media Creek.
Our partners are AdWiz, Dell, IceCast, Zayo, Juniper Networks Level 3.
They're a Rocky.
Yeah.
She's part of Media Creek.
So is this Rocky's business?
I think she is linked up with it. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. But all their sites talks about streaming. So
they're bundling podcasting with streaming is what they're doing. That's what the whole Media Creek concept. If you think about a flowing creek, streaming.
Yep.
And they're taking that streaming content and building in the podcast capability on the on-demand side, right? So that's kind of where that fits in.
Yeah, I did not. That's just like who, and I heard that, and today's the first day I've looked at it, and seeing that they're linked to AdsWiz, that kind of makes sense too, because Rocky has relationship with.
She used to work for AdsWiz.
Yeah. So those of you that Rocky I don't even know Rocky's last name. I feel bad here.
Thomas.
Yeah. So she's been in the space a long time, and very respected in the space. Hey, those of you that are on Facebook, thanks for joining in here, and make sure that you check in. I see Christopher did, and then Rick has, and Eileen. Christopher says, I saw that Spotify acquired the Ringer network.
Yeah, and I was going to talk about that too.
Yeah, so we'll talk about, I guess, they said they had 24 shows, and it isn't my comment, but Christopher says, WTF is that?
Well, it's all sports stuff mostly.
My speculation is that, and I actually talked about it with Mike Dell on the Podcast Insider show, is that ESPN is king in sports. Right. So you've seen 2 major deals done with sports networks here. Barstool Media, first one, and then now the Ringer network. I originally thought when I first read it, I'm like, who bought Ringer? Ringr? Remember that?
Right.
I'm like, why would they buy it? And then I said, oh, it's a Ringer. Okay, it's not Ringr. It's
Right.
which we've known for years.
Well, it's a sports term.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right.
So
interesting.
Anyway, so yeah. Hey Matt, hey Brian, thanks for checking in. Yeah, so that was big. And
well, it has. I mean, it raised a lot of questions that I heard about what is Spotify strategy. They did a quarterly call, or there was some sort of announcement about a push on what's Spotify's strategy going forward. Are they going to around advertising, around there's been a lot of talk about stuff going on with those guys for many years on the advertising side, and we'll see how things work out. But I think we are seeing, like we've talked about on the show before, it's not a big surprise that these music streaming platforms want to figure out a way to get into the advertising business with podcasting, and so it's going to challenge the industry to figure out how to do that, where it creates win-win relationships for everyone in the space. So,
they can do whatever they want. They can just run advertising around it, and it is what it is.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a little more complex than that. If there's ad revenue share things that they're going to be doing, then guess what? They need to have relationships with the content creators, and is that going to be, is it going to be opt-in? Is it going to be, what's the CPMs on it? Is it going to be more valuable for a content creator to do a deal directly with a listening platform on advertising, or is it better to centralize the advertising like it's currently being done today?
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see, but they don't owe anybody anything. And that's, this is the point podcasters have to understand is they don't have to give a penny back to podcast. You've agreed to their terms to be on there.
Well, and also, and we've talked about this a lot of times in the past is, and I faced this when I was working on Zune at Microsoft, is that these platforms need to figure out a way to make money from offering podcasting. Now, granted, I mean, I think to some degree they are right now, because most of these are subscription services, so they're making revenue off of retaining and getting users onto their platform. But for a company to keep investing in podcasting to expand the marketing reach and the capabilities of the platform, they have to have a revenue source. So we may be forced with some changes to the industry about how the advertising business gets managed across the hosting platforms as well as the listening platforms, as everybody takes a little piece of the pie of the advertising ecosystem as the industry matures.
So Matt says that Steve Goldstein has a article out on the Spotify strategy, and I, again, that, speculation, I'm sure, by Steve's part, and I haven't read it, but I'd seen that there was an article out. Steve has been hit or miss on some of his stuff over the years, so I like Steve a lot. I think we all have to a certain extent.
Yeah, well, it's hard to predict what's going to happen, with this stuff, but you can clearly see what Spotify is doing. They're acquiring quality content that they can create, probably a split experience around a subscription based, with some exclusive content that's on their platform. I think that the big question is what's going to happen with their ability with Anchor to be able to push content out to other platforms as from a competitive standpoint.
Well,
we'll see.
And it brings up a point. I was watching a social media post yesterday, I think it was, and they were talking about which platforms are you being distributed on, and here's the shocking thing. A number of podcasters in that list listed Google Podcasts, Spotify, and a couple of others, but did not at all mention Apple Podcasts. And when you have podcasters that are only focused on walled garden gatekeeper type platforms, and they're not worried about being on Apple Podcasts, then I'm not saying Google is, but that made me set me back a little bit in the seat and say, "Whoa."
Well, I mean, it's not really necessarily new. I know I'm working with the show right now that's moving off of Podcast One, and I was informed by them that they were only being distributed on Apple or off of Podcast One's platform, and they just got added to Spotify just last week.
Right.
So, I mean, and that's it. That's the. I mean, now granted, being on Apple gets you into a lot of other smaller listening apps, but it is kind of interesting, the strategies that each of these companies play around their distribution side. I think you could make a case that being on a bunch of smaller apps doesn't really gain you a bunch of audience.
But if you're not on Apple Podcasts, then I think you're still handicapping yourself.
I mean, that's definitely a big mistake. But it, like you said, Todd, as we move towards proprietary platforms and people using content around exclusivity and trying to drive, like to some degree what Luminary tried to do and is trying to do, is creating a hybrid experience around subscription content and free content. I think we're still in the experimentation stage around what models are going to work in the long run in this space around premium content. I don't know that anybody really has all the answers to that yet.
Christopher Jordan says, as someone who comes from the broadcast realm, I fully see the strategy of acquiring smaller networks as they're trying to become the Cox Media of podcasting. Well, we'll see. Whoa, something happened, Rob.
I know.
You're here audio, but you're not here. There you go. That was weird.
Yeah, I think I had something.
You clicked something, I think.
Yeah, am I back okay now?
Yeah, you're good. So, I guess from that standpoint, we'll have to continue to watch, and I think part of it is they're trying to figure it out as they go. And of course, Pandora said that they would do revenue share on advertising with podcasters, but I've not seen anything publicly announced about that,
Right.
And so, matter of fact, if we run into Pandora folks at Podcast Movement, we will definitely. This is going to be a question I'm definitely going to be asking.
Right.
And I know some of the Pandora folks watch the show, so where are we at on that? And then I kind of knew this was coming because I was under an NDA. Staples launched a number of stores on the East Coast with podcast studios in them.
Right.
And as a basically kind of I don't know how much I can even say beyond that. So, Staples is trying to reinvent themselves here, it appears. And, but it's congratulations to them on getting those, I think 7 stores launched with studios, and they're trying to, it appears to me they're trying to make a creative space, worker space, maker space where people can come in.
What they're probably realizing is that Amazon is starting to eat their lunch around the product sales side. And they're trying to utilize that square footage for more business services,
right?
Which could be a better strategy for them from a revenue perspective as you look to the future. And putting studios in is, it's one piece of that puzzle, right?
Considering they have, lots of square space across the entire United States,
right.
They're going to be looking at how to utilize that so that they don't have to shut stores down if they've lost revenue on sales that's being taken away from Amazon. I looked at the stuff that I just ordered. I ordered a computer from Apple. I ordered something from New Tech, and then I ordered about $500 or $600 of stuff from Amazon. I never left my chair,
right?
Exactly. And but in this town that I'm in, I got to drive 40 miles to closest Staples. I don't have those big box type of stores here. So, right. And there's and all the small stores besides Walmart have got, there's a Walmart and there's a Myers, but all those small stores that used to do local business, they've just gotten ate up and destroyed.
Right.
So, sure, I'd like to spend money locally, but I'm not a fan of Walmart, so I didn't want to give Walmart money.
Right. But I'm sure Walmart's doing just fine though.
Oh,
in
yeah.
this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've got their online stuff sometimes cheaper than what's in the store. So
Right. So it's definitely a changing landscape around kind of how people are acquiring products, and where Staples can shine as kind of local business services. So I think in the bigger picture of things, I think it's pretty smart on their part. The question is it going to replace the same amount of revenue that they had on the product sales?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a big question.
It takes a lot of it. My sister's got a space next door, and we've been talking about some use cases for that, and we're trying to decide what we're going to do there. And we looked at some franchise stuff. We looked at 2 or 3 other options, and we're you're looking at $200,000-$300,000 in startup cost, and so I think we're and if there isn't somebody that because there's a lot of open retail rental space in this town, just with strip malls of empty, and she's got a commercial space. So what do we do with that? And I came up with some ideas for her, and hopefully we're able to make that work, because she essentially has to get enough money coming in she owns this building, so she's just interested in making the mortgage payment. So it's
interesting.
So Staples, I don't know how many of their stores they own outright, and do they own? Sometimes they're in a mall, and maybe they're just renting. Maybe they don't own their building, but sometimes Staples are standalone, but that's not always the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I also noticed that the Captivate folks basically appointed 4 new members of their advisory board, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. So what is the deal with that? Are those folks getting paid? Or are they just, it's an advisory board. We've all had our internal advisors. We've never really announced stuff publicly.
Right. I'm not sure what all those people actually do in that, in that role. I haven't really heard that, but it's being played up by the Rebel Base Media folks, and I believe they've had a few folks on that board for a while, like James Cridlin is part of their advisory board. I don't, it does kind of make you wonder what the relationship is, and why do this. Have people on advisory boards like this, and then making it public like this. I don't know what you think, Todd.
I've always had 5 to 10 people that we've trusted in the space, that we share stuff with privately, and ask for their feedback. We have a beta team for our plugin. We don't, I don't feel it necessary to ask or to promote who I'm talking to privately about stuff that we're doing. And it makes it awkward for them in trying to do other business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, with Daniel and Kathy, can I now talk to Daniel about stuff that we're doing? And that's so, I trust Daniel to separate church and state, between one thing and another. But still, if I make a mention of something, it has an influence. It can tweak. So if there's a conversation going on at Captivate, and and they're talking about something similar we're doing or planning, it could turn very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I just don't know what it really means. Yeah, I just don't know what the involvement is, and I guess that's the question. I mean, from a personal level, it doesn't make any difference to me.
Yeah.
But it just makes you wonder if they're now employees of the company, or if they're just paid consultants, or if it's an unpaid kind of deal, or it's just occasionally they'll have meetings with them or something like that. I mean, it's an interesting idea. It's not something that really any other company in the space has really ever done before. So it just raises more questions, is what it does. That's all.
And and I may be more cautious in saying what I've got coming in the future.
Right. Yeah.
So it just it is the name of the I got several big things we're working on that I can't talk about. And
right. Yeah, I mean it could be like a board of directors to some degree, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking. But is it really a board of directors? I mean, board of directors have a financial fiduciary responsibility to the company. I don't know that these folks have that kind of relationship.
No. And again, Captivate's a UK company. So, maybe it's their US people on the ground giving them, insights what's happening here.
Right.
Eileen does this. I'm curious to know how shows get picked up by Ringer. What is the process like? That's probably a good question. I'm sure they find good shows and they like them and they ask them to come be part of the network.
Or I think a lot of the shows on that network are also, created by Ringer as well.
Yeah, I had at least 5 calls last week from people that are building networks, and some interesting things going on in the space with networks right now. Networks are being courted in a big way.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely going to be networks that acquire networks. Those are that's the future, is niche networks combining with bigger networks. I think is what we're going to see more and more. I mean, it does feel like being a part of a network maybe gives you some advantages. There's some downsides to it too. You just have to weigh it with the opportunity versus what that network brings to your program. Is it worth it or not?
Yeah, that and always read the fine print.
Right.
But going back to what you said about Podcast One, now on Spotify, I had a pretty frank conversation with Norm in LA, and I basically said, well, why aren't you on Spotify?
Well, they've got basically a pass-through versus a caching issue.
And I told him, I said, they're doing pass-through. I said, you can change your ads. Why are you not on Spotify? And so I don't know, maybe I pushed him over the edge to be on Spotify.
Well, he may not have known that Spotify was doing pass-through deals.
Maybe I shouldn't have told him.
I don't think it makes that big a difference, does it?
So, well, and there's a lot going on. Hey, what's the story with Andy Bowers?
I don't know. I just, I think you kind of reach a point in your career when you need to make change. And I don't know. I haven't talked to Andy to find out what was the actual driver of that, but
yeah,
it's probably I do know, and he put in his post that he was moving back from New York back home. I think he had been living in New York for the last few years, so I think he was anxious to get back to family and friends and stuff back in the Los Angeles area. I know that's where I really kind of originally met up with Andy and got to know Andy, was down in Los Angeles.
You couldn't ask for a nicer guy, and
he's a great guy. Yeah, he's been on our on panels with me at many podcasting events. It sounds like maybe he may be exiting the whole podcast space entirely.
Completely. So but he's got companies. So did he take an exit, or there's really not any clear indication of that. But
right.
But we wish Andy luck, whatever he does next.
Definitely.
That's a guy to have on your advisory board.
Yeah, no question. Right. Exactly. So, and I did notice that Apple's got a lot of activity around them building their podcasting team that
they've had noticed a bunch of job announcements out there.
Yeah.
So I think they're taking notice of what's going on in the space, and maybe they, maybe be a little more aggressive.
Yeah. Well, I think they probably should be. it does kind of raise a lot of questions about, how far Apple is going to go down that path, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think they have a lot of untapped opportunity there as you look to the future. And there's a lot of rumors around what the next iPhone looks like too.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there's an interesting opportunity for them around podcasting in their new iPhone too. I don't know if there's something brewing there. I don't know if you've heard anything, Todd.
I don't pay attention to the next version. I know it's just going to be another phone with about 25 new features, and we're all going to want to go spend $1,000 to buy one. So,
well, note the stock market was all spun up around everybody upgrading this cycle for some reason, so that there may be a bigger change coming to the phone.
Yeah. I'm looking at your picture. You look a little blurry to me. I don't know if you, on your webcam. Yeah. I don't know if it's focused on the back wall versus focused on you, but you just look a little
blurry.
A little blurry
today.
Yeah.
A little blurry today.
Yeah. At some point we need to get you on a different camera.
Well, I've got it. I've got a Microsoft camera that I'm using for this one. It's not my usual C920.
So I think I've got it pretty much figured out what I'm bringing to Vegas. Not Vegas, LA for our event. I got a little stack of stuff. I'm waiting on a couple of cables that I ordered. I want to make sure I have every. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to have every combination except for the one we need.
Of course, that's the way it usually works, Todd.
So
bring every cable that you have, Todd.
Well, I'm bringing like six potentials that are coming out of a mixer. Right. And, and it's just like, that it's going to be something different, and I'm going to be totally screwed, and we're going to be standing there not able to go live. So
yeah, you can just totally expect that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly. It's the truth. I'm fully expecting it. But anyway, so I'll mock everything up on Monday and make sure that it works, and then all we have to worry about is the audio plug.
Right.
So
Todd, did you hear about this this event that's going on back in New York from the PRX folks?
Yeah, I've got one of my team members that's going to try to go.
Okay, the threats to podcasting.
Mm-hmm. I forget.
So if you wanted to read,
what date is that?
I believe it's the 25th. I believe of January.
Yeah.
Or of February.
Oh, okay.
And it's, if you wanted to read more about this event, you can go to podcastprivacy.org.
Oh, that's interesting. They launched a website around it.
Yep. It's called Emerging Threats to Podcasting's Open Ecosystem. It's dated February 25th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. in New York City. So, but you have to request an invite. So it's a little bit of a limited thing to some degree. So
yeah, they sent out an announcement about that, and I must be they got an overwhelming number because I.
Yeah, it's going to be at the New School in New York City.
Yeah,
at the Arnold Hall off of 13th Street, and I believe that's Midtown. I think. Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's a one-day symposium for leaders in podcasting about data privacy, open technology, law, and public media to imagine a future that for audio that is accessible, sustainable, and respectful of privacy.
So
what a novel concept, Todd.
So someone's worried about this, and it's interesting. It's coming from PRX.
Yeah, well, I think Jake and that team over there has been around the medium for a while. And I think they see the threats that may be building out there, as you and I both see that there's some there's some desire amongst certain parts of the industry to change the industry and make it a little less open.
Yeah.
So.
And for Michael Dare, that you're not used to seeing me in a long sleeve shirt. Well, as soon as the sun comes out, I will be out of this long sleeve shirt. I absolutely hate it, to be honest with you. And I've never had to wear pants this long. It's shorts and
Hey.
A polo shirt is my style. So
welcome to a northern climate, Todd.
Yeah, I get my body adjusted here, and I'm going to be that dude that's going to be 10 below that's wearing shorts. So I got to get my blood thickened up a little bit first.
With the sandals, right,
Yeah.
Todd?
Jennifer, we will have one of our team members at that event to stand up for our right. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's gonna be great. I'm gonna be there. So if you're going, you'll be able to say hi to me.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it's probably gonna have, maybe a few hundred people would be my guess.
No.
It doesn't look like a huge venue.
So Rob Walsh didn't want to go in your stead, or
he's tied up with something else. So so I'm the one that's coming out for it. So
you're getting the freaking flyer miles.
I am. Yes. I'll take that.
Well, that's good. Yeah. So we both. When do you get into LA? Wednesday?
On the 11th. Yeah. I believe that's Wednesday. Yeah.
That's Tuesday. Tuesday. Oh, so you're getting in day
Tuesday.
Before.
Yeah, because we have a booth, right?
Well, I'll get in Tuesday at noon, and nothing starts for the booth until Thursday. So,
well, have an extra day.
Well, that's good. And if there is a booth to function on Wednesday, I'm going to be upset because my assumption was with the show opening on Thursday, Friday, they doing some pre-events on the 12th.
Right.
But
get down there, get stuff,
You'll have, it takes you 5 hours to unpack your business card.
I know it does. It's going to take me a while to get all those categorized too. It's like a directory on a table,
Yeah. Okay. Have fun with that until the wind blows one day, and then you guys end up with this scattering of business cards a mile long.
Well, somebody will eventually have a podcasting event in an outside venue at some point, and that'll be a problem.
Or a door will open and you'll get a gust of wind, and then it'll be all over.
It will be. It will be.
And I'm going to laugh when it happens too.
Sure.
A little light entertainment. But we're all lined up together. It's like it's us, Hootsuite, you, Podbean. There's just like hosting company hosting like 5 or 6 of us right in a row, and then we're against one wall, and then everyone else. It's kind of like this other kind of scattering of stuff in that room. So it is kind of entertaining.
Yeah, it's going to be a different podcast movement experience.
But there's 1,000 people is what their number is. So
and they're almost sold out from what
I
heard it. I think it's just the professional track. I think has still got a few openings.
So that means 300-400 people in a session. So that could be because it's all track style.
Right.
You go to your track.
Yeah. And everybody's going to be wearing headphones, right?
Well, on some of the events, I had to set my deck in already, and that was I'm used to like tweaking my deck up to the last minute, and they required our decks to be in Thursday.
I haven't turned mine in yet. I'm going to turn it in today.
You're late.
I know I'm late. Believe me, I got pinged about it too.
Yeah.
It's like, where's the deck?
So Tom Webster's on the line watching us today. Tom, thanks for checking in as well.
Well, Tom has a fun little event coming up himself.
Yes, he does.
On the East Coast.
Yeah, Infinite Dial is date is fast approaching.
And it's going to have a live event to it with an audience. So he's going to be playing to an audience.
I don't know if he's advertised that or not, Rob. He may have just broke NDA.
Uh-oh. Well, I didn't sign any NDA. Sorry, Tom. So it's going to be exciting. So we can all sit in the audience and cheer as he announces these huge growth numbers.
Well, right? The steady growth numbers, right?
The steady growth number. I thought it was going to be a hockey stick, Todd.
Well,
I thought it was going to be like
that does bring up
50% up in 1 year.
That does bring up a point. I saw an article the other day. Someone was doubting that we were going to be able to get to this big B number in the time that they say we're going to get there.
Well, you and I both know what it takes for us to get there, but the problem is nobody wants to play in that field.
That's right. That we can get them to $1.5 billion in a year if everyone would just, pay attention to the 95%.
Right, instead of just playing to the 5%.
Right. So, I think some people are starting to realize that, but they're running up against the same objections, the same issues that that we run into when we're trying to put a deal together with 300 shows. And who's that? Who's that? What's that?
Well, nobody wants to work that hard, Todd.
Well, okay. Well, some of us do the work that hard.
I know. Well, hey, it's all about creating the technology to take all that work out of it, right?
Yeah. And I've been doing a lot of calls with podcasters, and you've got these shows that are on the cuffs. They got 2,000-3,000 listeners. They're just to the point where they're, it's just shows kind of have this. We lost your video again, Rob. You touched something. So they're on the cusp of making it to the next level, and because you start gaining, it's like when you get, it's kind of, my God, we need to buy you a Mac, and not on my budget, but Libsyn needs to buy you a Mac. You and your Microsoft stuff is not working so well.
It's not the computer. It's something else.
Okay.
Am I back now?
You're back. Yeah. We were looking up at your chin for a minute, and then you're back now.
You were. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it flipped to a different camera, so it's kind of blinking a little bit. So. Wow.
Okay.
So I lost my train of thought here. Yeah. So it's going back to it has to roll down, and until it rolls down, it's they continue to add more shows and and build these one-offs within these networks. But that you look at Joe Rogan, and they said he makes $30 million, and then you look at one of those storyteller shows, they said they make $15 million. That's a pipe dream for 99% of shows out there to make that kind of money.
Right.
And
no, it is.
I understand. It's it's a math. You can just do the math numbers, and it's potential. There's huge potential in making significant dollar.
Mm-hmm.
I look at my little show at Geek News Central. It does very well.
Right.
And it's up and down every month depending on how well we do with GoDaddy. But it's been consistent over the years, and so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just really it's really as simple as just buying across larger numbers of shows. As we both know, Todd, and it just doesn't seem like the ad buying industry really understands that it's unduplicated audience, which means that they're actually able to extend their reach,
right?
Which is what they all want, is reach and frequency. That's the easiest way to get to reach and frequency, is buying across larger numbers of shows.
And I also saw there was a good article about, basically scolding podcasters for doing 1 month test. And I've been on that bandwagon for, matter of fact, I won't do deals anymore if they want to do a 1 month test, because I know it's going to end badly. It's not, podcasting frequency is different. You can't get a good result. Yeah, if you have a massive show, of course you're going to probably see some decent results on a 1 month test. But they can't think beyond that. You got, I honestly believe that the best test is a 3 month run.
Yeah, it's all about frequency. You got to have larger numbers of frequency.
Oh, there. Okay,
so weird.
You got cut, and now we lost your video again. So
yeah,
it's true though, and I have this slide. I wish I probably could find it. It was something I was presenting. probably 3-4 years ago, where it showed a buy. And I went and basically found a buy that a vendor was doing, and they had 10 shows on it. They had 40, basically they had 40 spots in those 10 shows over a month. And then I said, okay, so and I guesstimated based upon knowing roughly what those show sizes were, what that spend was, and let's say it was $50,000. And then I took 400 shows and demonstrated 1,600 ad spots and the same spend.
Right.
And again, not a little bit of duplication, because you might expect a listener to listen to 1 or 2 shows, but when you get a pretty widespread, there is not, like you said, it's non-duplicated audience. So it's like, and they're hearing 4 ads a month, but they're hearing it's going across 1,600, and I just in your same spend, and I would just get the deer in the headlights look. Like, how, well, that's a name we don't know.
Right.
And stuck. They're really stuck on the, gotta be a brand name that we recognize. I can't go to my boss with some, Johnny in his closet show.
Right. It's all about prestige. It's not about results.
Well, it's about results, but they only want these big shows.
Right. It's it's not like it used to be in the early marketing days, like back in the early days when I was involved in doing more offline marketing, where your requirement for frequency was pretty low. I mean, it was like, I think the number back in the 90s or something like that was, I think it was 6 to 7 ad impressions to get a conversion.
Right.
Now, I think you're more than double that. I think you're probably in the 18 to 20 ad impressions before you get even an opportunity for.
Yeah, before someone converts, and we lost Rob again. You want to disconnect and try to call back in?
Yeah, here, let me try that.
Because your video is like in and out.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Hang on a second. I'll call right back in.
All right. I tease Rob enough about him on a Microsoft product. Of course, the TriCaster is a Windows machine too, so I need to be careful that I don't upset the gremlin gods here. He'll be back when he is. But yeah, so the going back to this article, they talked about getting us to to 2 billion. It's a big stretch.
Okay.
Okay, we'll see how that does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it's, we're beating a dead horse by talking about this, because we've talked about it many times, that, what it's going to take to get to.
Well, I think we have to keep talking about it, because, hopefully we will, get heard and understood. Yeah. So, it takes frequency, right, Todd?
Yep. Jennifer says Johnny is in his closet show probably has a small but highly engaged listenership that takes action. We know that. This is the, media buyers. When I tell media buyers small shows perform higher than big shows, they just, again, I get that, the 5-mile stare. Like, they expect that bigger shows are going to perform, and it's not true. It's not. No, not always. Sometimes a smaller show doesn't have great engagement, but usually, they don't last too long as running advertising. Because
if a show probably is in that 2,000 to 3,000 audience size, it probably has a pretty engaged audience, would be my guess.
Well, and it also knows, it knows a lot of people by name.
Right.
And and I call on my show. I call out listeners that have been listening for years and say, because I know some of their content preferences, and yeah. And they're inclined to support the show when there's a sponsor,
right.
Or a promotion.
Yeah.
Instead of having to, beg for donations.
Right.
I don't know. I think we'll see over time what happens with this. But I thought we'd already turned the corner a long time ago when it comes to the other 95% having some roll down money. And what they all want to do, every person, they want to get at that 95%, but they want to do programmatic and they want to do $6 CPMs or $4.
Right.
And because they don't want to do the work or don't want to go to their boss, and because it's easy to click a button and buy 50 shows on programmatic.
Right.
They just throw some Trump change at it, and
the problem with the programmatic stuff is that the ad buyers treat it like it's a remnant inventory.
Right.
And that's where the problem is it's never packaged as a premium audio buy.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's a big problem for the industry as you look forward because podcasting should never be looked at as a non-premium opportunity, and the fact that it's being presented that way, I think, is a problem for us looking forward.
So I want to show you something here, and we can talk about this a little bit. Let me bring it up on the screen. Oh, it hasn't updated yet. How come? Why am I... There we go. Something's on a little delay here. It's all right. So you know what this is?
Google?
Yeah, the Google podcast page. Podcast.google.com.
Right. Okay.
So I got at least 5 tickets this week alone asking me, how do we get in the top listings on podcast.google.com? Well, my support team got it.
That's a very good question.
They want the secret sauce on how to get in this list, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm sure there's about 100,000 podcasters who would like to know this, and
right.
I haven't done.
I don't think it's an editorial list. Would be my guess if it's coming out of Google.
So I haven't done any real motivation or to go in and look at this at any depth or do some comparisons between Apple Podcasts and see if there's some matchups here. But example, how about, here's a category that you've never heard of: popular with listeners of the pre-med years. So this is like medical stuff. This is a category we've never, we know some podcasters that do pre-med advice and has pre-med shows. And so I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then top podcasts in art, fashion, and beauty, top podcast TV and film, top podcasts in health, top podcasts in arts, and top podcasts in technology. I don't know that Joe Rogan Experience is a tech show. It's kind of funny that they would list that.
Really.
And
not really.
So I'm looking at these and I'm looking, okay, the Vergecast, yes. Darknet Diaries, yes. Waveform, Reply All, AI. So, again, I haven't went through here and dug around very much on these, but yes, there is a, Joe Rogan's in 5 lists: top podcast in society and culture, top podcast in comedy. Where else is he at? Again, top podcast in tech.
Right.
So that doesn't look to me like this is a curated list. And they've got 1, 2, 3.
It's not.
They've got 5, 10, 12 on that list. Let's see here. How many is it on each of these? Yeah, 11. Oh, that's interesting. So
my guess is it's probably based on some sort of an algorithm that maps the popularity of this in their listening platform, right?
Yeah.
So
if you're not promoting Google Podcasts,
right?
This, here, wake up. This audience, we've talked about this to death. There's no way, unless you're a new listener, we've hit you 500 times over the past 10 years on making sure you're promoting Android and Google, but this is pretty significant. Podcast.google.com. Well, I don't think people realize how significant this is.
I mean, the more Google surfaces access to podcasts at a higher level in the company, I mean, like you've been saying all along, Todd, they need to add this podcast to that search bar on the Google Home area. So it's, once that happens, then, then things start to change. But yeah, I mean, it says search for podcasts right at the top of that page.
So I searched for New Media Show, came right up. And then it's got there's someone else that's got a show called the New Media Show too. Who is this? Oh, that's ours. That must be our video feed. So
yeah.
But more
that's
episodes
our
takes
video
me.
Feed?
Oh, that's weird. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that later because there's no album art there. But so let's take another show. Let's see here. Let's do and see if I can find.
Yeah, are you still putting the video out as a video podcast for the show?
Sure are. So Podcast Insider comes up right off the bat, shows the latest episode. Well, 2 days ago, the latest episode, and then some other stuff. So someone else has got another show called the Podcast Insider. So that's curious. All right, let's.
So it's still, our description on here is still saying that I work for Spreaker. So just to let you know.
Oh, that's weird because I don't have that anywhere.
Oh, you don't?
If I do, I've missed it.
It
is anyway because I went through and updated those when you told me. So here's Geek News Central.
It probably just hasn't picked it up yet.
Oh, there's 2 or 3 more listings for Geek News Central. That's very, very odd. On the bottom of their list, special media feed. Oh, it's found everything I've ever done. Huh.
Well, Google has a problem with duplicate feeds, right?
Yeah, it's definitely got a problem with duplicate feeds because I'm looking at these. These all link back to my main website. So
right.
they definitely have some of that going on here. Yeah, they all link back to my primary website. So what's this one here? Wow.
And they don't give you access to see what the RSS feed.
Right. Okay, that one's right. That goes to the GNC Weekly. Well, anyway, I think Google continues to play around here, and we'll see what happens over time.
Right. Yeah. And in the little the icon up in the upper left, the little hamburger icon on that page, if you click on that, it drops down. You can download the app.
I've got the hamburger open, and I don't see that. Count, Google search, map, news, play. Am I in the wrong? Oh, I'm probably in the wrong hamburger. Let me go on this side.
On the left side.
Oh, yep, right there. Bada bing, bada boom.
It says download the app. So what happens? Okay.
Yeah, it takes you to Google Play.
No, it took me to Google Podcasts. Well, install the app.
That's interesting. It took me to Google Play, but I'm on a Chrome on a Mac, so maybe a different function here.
Well, I mean, it's all focused on mobile, but it looks like, it takes you to a place where you can download the app, the podcast app.
It's only been downloaded it's gotten 237,000 4.5 stars. Does it say how much it's been downloaded? No, they don't. They don't have a counter.
It's been rated 237,000.
Yeah, it shows that it's installed on my my tablet and my Android device. So,
yeah.
So really, no function here for the Mac house.
Nope. But it's good. It's good that Google's chipping away at these little pieces of the puzzle. It's coming together.
Mike says Google is slow to update metadata. So, or I missed a spot where it's listed.
I'm sure it would be coming out of the RSS feed.
Yep. And I'm 90% sure I updated the RSS feed. It doesn't show that you're still over at Spreaker. Or it could be a vast conspiracy by me to not give you credit where credit's due.
Well, either way, it's not good for you, Todd. No.
We've got a big update. I think it's coming Monday. If they've got all the bugs worked out, we got a big update to PowerPress coming out, and we're sure it's. I told them don't put it out on a Friday. Wait till Monday when we have the entire support team there to help them, because we've completely upgraded the episode box, modernized it, and people are gonna. I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of freak out, and but we've simplified and consolidated, and so. I was hoping it would be out 2 weeks ago, but they want to make sure the bugs are killed.
Exactly. And I would, to go back to Google Podcasts, I would suspect that the Google Play podcast area is going to be retired.
Well,
at some point here.
Yeah, there's some rumor that is going to happen sometime this summer. So,
right.
Yeah, we'll see. But how many?
So that'll take one of the last caching platforms off of the industry, off of the space.
So how many of you watching live knew this page existed at podcast.google.com? How many of you knew that? So I'll wait for your responses in the chat room.
Well, it was a featured thing on the Pod News on the 7th, yesterday.
Well, if you're paying attention, you know about this stuff already. So I'm just wondering how many people knew that it was available.
Right.
Mike Delzon, he says operators will be standing by on Monday. Well, it's true. Our operators will be standing by.
Yes.
Because
how do I get on that page?
Well, no. Well,
I think you're probably already there. Yeah.
I think it's really about the search results, and and two, Google is Google. Yeah. So if you have your own .com and you are, well, let's just say you're using PowerPress, we make it really so that you are going to be guaranteed you're going to get indexed in Google pretty quickly. We're doing a number of things, and I won't go into all the number of things. We'll let everybody else figure out how we're helping people get in faster. But we had a gal call us and say, I don't want that listing on Google Podcast. She says, because she's using Buzzsprout as a host and using our plugin as the on our website. Right. So the first time we've ever been asked, she wants her Google search results to show up on Buzzsprout and not on our website. And we're still kind of confused about that one, but we kind of give her some instructions on how to do that. But, we made it so that people's personal websites would be the ones that Google would pick up and index and show us the authority. And she's like, no, I want Buzzsprout page to be the authority. And I'm like, okay. We can't shut this off immediately because this happened on, automatically by Google. And it was an interesting perspective.
Well, Todd, I mean, thinking about it from an SEO standpoint, is it not possible that being on a bigger domain name might get you more prominent placement in Google?
It can work the other way, and it usually does.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay. So page speeds, bad players on that domain, dead shows, dead content, bad links.
Right. Yeah.
It can work against you.
Well, it depends on how good that page is, right?
Well, it depends on how good that company is in cleaning up the trash.
Right.
And suppressing those, because it's and when you're in control of I'm just going to tell you that I don't want to have my show to be indexed on some third-party website that I can't control.
Well, yeah, that's true. I'm just throwing it out there that I think that as you look at how Google looks at it, they look at the significance of a domain, right? and what kind of traffic is going on related to that domain name, right? And it may actually get you to show up higher in the search results.
Well, for your own website, it will. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if you're driving, if you're building up your own domain name to have a presence,
right?
That's probably a better long-term strategy. You're right. But how Google looks at it is they look at the links that are related to a domain. And the only reason I say this is that, I saw this at Spreaker too. I saw that oftentimes when you do a search for a show, those platforms, Apple, Google, all the way down the line, those would show up higher on the search results because those are bigger domains, right?
Well, I think that's okay.
Yeah. It's just,
but
how it works. But yeah, I mean, if you can drive people to your own property, that's always better, right?
Yeah. Because, you're just trying to drive them towards to the podcast. You want them, but it all depends on your strategy. If you're a business owner,
right,
you want them coming in and entering your business funnel where you can capture a email address or
right, exactly,
something to that effect. And so let me do a search here, and this is just for my personal show. Wrong button. So what do I have? My site comes up. If I type in Geek News Central Podcast, my site comes up first, then Apple, then Google Podcasts, then YouTube, and then Spotify and Stitcher and Listen Notes and Twitter. So, I feel pretty good about that result.
Right. No, that's great.
So
but you've worked pretty hard to build that domain name up with links to videos and links to.
So if we do the new media show,
right.
So it's new media show comes up first, Google second, Stitcher, Apple, iHeart, Podfantic. I don't even know who that is. Twitter, your Twitter account, Player.fm,
right.
Social Media Examiner, Facebook, and then that's it. So let me just change the search result a little bit. So if I just do new media show without the word podcast, and then I get better results for the new media show, Google, I get Apple, Stitcher, Facebook, and then something. Oh, we apparently did an interview. Maybe not. This is someone else's show. So, we control above the fold. I think that's, the key there. So, I don't know. I guess, in this instance, that customer did not want her .com to be the first search result. She wanted her show on Buzzsprout to be the first search result. And
well, it's easier, that's for sure. I mean, if they don't have a good website, it's probably easier. And Todd, it gets back to the technical abilities of some of these podcasters too. Do they have the desire to build out their own website and all that functionality too?
Well, it's not hard, No,
I know it's not, but I see it in my interactions with podcasters out there today too, is that, it's a big hurdle for them to jump to build out a website on WordPress. It's a pretty confusing platform sometimes to work with. And if you get some help, that would be fantastic.
I will disagree with millions of people using WordPress. It's not that hard. And,
I think it,
and I think if you also, we also I'm very cognizant that some folks don't care. They just want something.com / a landing page. Right. They want a Twitter page, Instagram page. They don't care. They don't want to build, until later. Often they wake up later and figure out they need to build a brand.
Right.
But,
that's true.
They often will just need a landing page. So, we recognize that.
Right.
And, and support the customers that want to do that as well. And you guys do too. So it's, it's just a matter of, some do, some don't. And you just have to be able to make sure you make both happy.
Yeah. And I think that, that's part of our the bigger trend in the industry too. You look at what's happening with, still happening with Anchor. They're picking up a lot of new shows. They may not be picking up much audience.
Well, the problem is well, not the problem. It's just they have the same. It's nothing's changed over there. They're getting a lot of new shows, but those shows are dying. Their number of active shows are not increasing.
Right.
It's just, they're getting a lot in the door and a lot dumping off.
Or falling off, right?
Yeah, and it's not increasing. They're not. It's not like they're gaining 1,000 and their numbers go up 300. No, it's just about, just about in the middle.
I mean, it does kind of beg a question, though, as you think about how Anchor is such a big funnel for new tire kicker type podcasters. Is that helping the space or is it hurting the space? That people come into that platform and then get disappointed or something and they stop producing shows, or are those folks that sometimes, maybe podcasting wasn't for them and it was a place for them to find out.
Hey, I don't know. We can also go back and look at our own numbers.
Right.
I know how many customers don't make it to episode 1 or 2.
Right. And if we could compare that between the two platforms, is making that platform so easy to create a podcast, encouraging people to produce a podcast that maybe aren't serious enough about it. I don't know.
Well, I think I think the main difference between, let's say, Anchor and anybody else, and then just as my speculation, this is my hypothesis, is it's just easy. So people just say, let's try this.
Yeah, and they do it on their phone. Yeah. They don't have to buy any equipment. It couldn't be any easier.
And because of that, then you're going to have this much, much higher failure rate. And what we see is when people come into, let's just say, anyone else, they're doing a few more defining steps to get running, and oftentimes they're backing their decision with a credit card too. So when people have committed some money towards doing something, I had someone just the other day said, I've been planning for 6 months. I'm glad I didn't buy my account yet because I would have just be spending money for nothing. I said, when you're ready, then, start and put your credit card down and get going. You don't need to be, burning cash by not, having an account because you're not putting an episode together. I said, we don't, for us, it's like, when you get started, we want you to get started.
Yeah. And that's oftentimes why we use these promo codes that give people a month or two to get started. Because sometimes that's an issue, is that they want to get a podcast going and they're all excited and they want to go in and sign up. But yet, it takes them a few weeks to get it all pulled together, get the equipment, get the concept, and start producing episodes. And it can, and give them a little bit of time to do that is helpful.
Yeah. So, the churn rate is still, no matter how we look at it, still, I think, probably just as high as anywhere else. I think still that, and I haven't looked at it in 5 or 6 months, but, I've always contended that, until they hit episode 6 or 7, that episode is, that is suspect whether that show will make it, if it's going to make it beyond 7 or 10. And I think that's one of the reasons why iHeart's a little bit slower in approving shows too. I think, I've been telling podcasters, hey, wait to get 3, 4, 5 under your belt before you submit over there. Because otherwise they're just going to kind of sit on you because they're recognizing people are not making it either.
Right. And they don't want to clutter their catalog with a bunch of shows that doesn't have any episodes in it.
And Pandora even more so.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
They've got a higher bar. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to submit to Pandora on episode 1. You better, wait to get to 10 and submit to Pandora. So, but people don't want to hear that. And they go in and they submit on episode 1, and then they're, emailing like, why am I not getting approved to be on Pandora?
Right.
And it's like, well, you need a few more episodes under your belt before they'll probably look at you to approve you.
Yeah. Well, and and Pandora needs to be clear of what their requirements are too. So, yeah. Yep. So, Todd, I was hearing some rumors around Podcorn. I don't know if you heard stuff bouncing around the space this past week, or if you even want to talk about it.
What was the rumors?
That their tracking is inflated on numbers.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Well, there's another service out there that launched that is supposedly tracking. What was the name of it? Let me find it. I'm keeping a list here of, let's see here if I can find it. Oh, it's called, oh no, it's not them. Where is it? Oh, it's Reports by Antenna. Reports.useantenna.io. Track your podcast subscriber counts. And I haven't used it, but from those that I have heard that have used it are saying that the subscriber numbers are higher. So let's see what we can do here. Let's go to new media. It's going to make me probably create an account. I don't want to create an account. Let's do a new media show.
So what's the domain name for that?
New media show.
No, the site that you're on.
It's at reports.useantenna.io.
Use.
It's all one word. Reports.useantenna, ANTENNA.io. And according to this system, which I have, and I'm surprised they're using the this logo. It looks like they're going to get in trouble with AWS on that. But according to them, they say that the new media show has 117 subscribers. Oh, how wrong they are. Castbox 46. The question is, how are they getting this information?
There is no way they can get this information that's accurate.
Well,
really?
Okay. So how are they getting this information?
I don't know. It's a good question.
It is a good question.
How many people are subscribing to your podcast?
Yeah. Let's go and look at one more.
Do they say anywhere?
No, they don't.
So
let's search for Geek News Central. And let's see how many are subscribing to that. Oh, this is funny. The podcast app. A total of 261 people subscribe to Geek News Central. I don't have to worry about that. We don't have to worry about that as a reporting system. But the question is, where did they come up with this?
Oh yeah, well, how?
Right? How? Yeah. Because they definitely are not telling us how, and as far as I know, people aren't giving those types of reports out to anybody. And if they are, podcasters want that data themselves versus
having it public.
So
because I just did a search for Speaker Live Show. That's my old podcast that I used to do, and it's got 71 subscribers. and the number one platform for listening for that is Castbox.
Yeah.
Which seems odd.
Yeah, so they're getting some data. It's the podcast app. Who is the podcast app? I don't even know who that is. I'm trying to load the web page. Oh, is it going to load? The podcast app.
It's the number one podcast app in the App Store.
Huh?
It doesn't say which App Store, but it says
here it is.
It's the number one podcast app in the App Store.
And be honest,
that's all App Stores, Todd. It's number one.
Okay. I'll be honest with you. I've never heard of this one.
I know. I haven't either. I mean, it looks clean. Looks fine.
Okay. Well, cool.
It's got a web-based directory. It's at podcast.app.
Yeah, it's at podcast, and they scored a good domain name for that. My goodness.
Yeah, that is a good one.
So I missed that one. Crap.
Joe Rogan's number one. It's got 188,000 listeners, Todd.
Okay. Well, somehow, and I don't know who these folks are, they're getting this information, and there's been a little discussion about it, of course.
Yeah.
Hey, you have a question? Ask us directly at support@useantenna.io. So,
but podcast.app. Interesting.
And it was featured on Product Hunt, whatever Product Hunt is.
That's a new, or it's a platform that promotes new technology app platforms.
Okay. So anyway, that's where we're at on that. But
okay.
So a little discussion there too. But yeah, bad news if the Podcorn folks are having inflated numbers. Aren't they a sponsorship platform?
Yeah, correct.
And they're using their own stats?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I don't really know much about it. I'm assuming that it's one of those redirect platforms.
Yeah, maybe they are. I think they asked us to implement the redirect.
Right. And they just may not have it dialed in on the metric side.
Well,
very well. Right. Are you surprised?
Yeah, well, let's just be frank. It's if they've just come online and they don't have all the
yeah.
It's not that easy.
No, it's not easy. Right. And I hate to bash them about it, but the problem is that if you're a podcaster and you get hooked up with that, you kind of get yourself into some issues if you're selling sponsorships.
Anybody using Podcorn, I would love to see your A/B comparisons between their numbers and your hosted numbers at Blueberry.
Right.
So if you're hosting with Blueberry.com and you're using Podcorn for stats, I'd love to see A/B shots. Just send me a screenshot of one episode, and wait like 72 hours after the show's been released, and then send a screenshot of the Blueberry episode stats and the Podcorn. And again, wait about 72 to 96 hours before you send it. I'd love to see those deltas.
Right. So I guess I was seeing that Apple currently has 873,466 shows in their directory as of early February.
Well, someone was saying that they were real close to going over, and I think Listen Notes was saying that they were very close to going over.
Over what?
Over the 900,000 level.
Oh, over the 900,000 level.
Yeah, so I'll tell you where we're at. And sign in. We do have some dupes, so I will just say that up front. Our total is 953,845 as of right now. But again, we have some shows that have some dupes. So let's take 20,000, 30,000 out for dupes, and it's probably like 920 or something like that.
So I went to Daniel's page, mypodcastreviews.com.
Yeah, what's he sitting at?
He's showing that there's 880,257 podcasts as of right now.
Well, that's probably pretty. He's been pretty good on getting the Apple podcast numbers. So we pull from other sources as well. So I would probably be for Apple Podcasts at least, I think I would be more inclined to think his number's pretty close. But Listen Notes was thinking they were going over 900,000. But here's the thing that Apple's also doing is that they're removing shows They've really moved 100, according to Daniel, they've removed 126,000 shows in the last 90 days. So,
wow.
So they're removing shows.
At a faster clip than they're adding?
Well, no. That's the key. They're making sure the number increases, and they're not taking they're not removing as many, because it's not good from a stockholder standpoint to make it look like you are going backwards.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, so looks like Friday they removed 444 shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is pretty good. It's at mypodcastreviews.com. Just click on the My Podcast Industry Analytics. He's got a great, this is a running total. I think he's running these numbers every day.
Yeah. So, well, I think this is live, I'm not sure.
Yeah. But, here's some interesting podcasts by the latest episode age. 5+ years, there's about 97,000 shows that are 5+ years, but yet 4 to 5 years, 22,000, 3 to 4 years, 36,000. So there's a lot of shows that are old that are doing well.
Right.
But you got 160,000 shows that have produced an episode in the last 7 days. And you expand that out, 8 to 30 days is 100,000. I don't know if those, obviously that would be a separate number, but.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing. And then active versus inactive by available episodes.
Oh, actually, I was reading this wrong. So 5+ years since they had a new update. So let's look at this. 97,000, 22,000, that takes us to 110. Another 40,000, 3 to 4 years. So that's 150. 2 to 3 years. Let's take that to 200. 1 to 2 years. So 312,000 shows that haven't produced an episode in more than a year.
Yeah.
And then if we look at this.
That's about a third, right?
Right.
About a third. Yeah.
And then if you look at this, then it's 179,000 that have produced one in the last 91 to 365 days. So, interesting.
So that tells me that the medium is growing a lot faster now.
Potentially,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you've got active versus inactive by available episode.
Right.
So you've got one episode in 100,000 shows that 100,000 that haven't produced more than one episode. And then you have 2 to 3 episodes. You've got another 90,000 that have only produced 2 or 3 episodes. 4 to 9. Yes. So, there's a huge wasteland. Here again, 4 to 9 shows, 120,000. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then 10 or more, that's when the numbers jump way up.
But you also look at active. The active ones are 239,000, 10 or more.
Right.
And then inactive 10 or more, 185. So again, you 10 is the number, right?
Yeah.
10?
That's the break point, it looks like.
Yep. And I'd like to see 7 as a number as well in there, but I guess including that 4 to 9.
Right.
But we've always said, shows make it past 7, they've got a pretty good they've got a pretty good chance of surviving.
Well, this looks like it's 10 or more.
Right, yeah. 10 or more. Yep.
Yep.
So
keep that in mind. But I don't recommend pre-producing 10 episodes for your show, though.
No. No. I had someone that called me a week ago, said, I've got 30 already recorded. I said, 30? I'm like, let's get a couple online for you. Oh, I'm not sure I'm ready. I'm like, you've got half a year's worth of content already. Let's go.
Yeah, that plus, what if you want to change what you're doing?
Well, he's got 30 to go, so we're 30 in the can, ready to produce. So I'm like,
right. You're kind of locked into your paradigm, aren't you?
And he wasn't, of course, then the conversation, I said, well, I was told I had to put 10 online the first day. I said, let's, I'm going to split the difference with you. How about 3?
And you may or may not use that other 7, right?
And then I said, only 3. I said, yeah, because, you got to think about how people are seeing it come up in the app and get started and how fast they can consume your content. And he went through that whole thing as like, that expert opinion wasn't so good. I'm like, well, I'm not going to talk bad about it, but you got 30. You're good. Let's go.
Get those up, buddy. Right.
And I said, well, just thinking about this way now, you start getting feedback and you can start scheduling, some more interviews. But I was amazed he had 30. I was like, whoo.
Yeah. And 6 months from now, you can start producing new episodes. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And chasing that ball.
Right. Yeah.
And I did tell him, I said, you can put out 2 a week. Let's maybe push to 3 a week, but let's, start with 2 a week after the first week and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And then you may want to adjust later as you get these out.
No, Todd, just publish all 30 at the same time.
Well, that's why he called me. He says, I don't have enough storage to do all 30 at once. I'm like, 30?
And have them all be on the same publish date.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't even ask him who he got that advice
from. If only the podcast listening apps downloaded 30 episodes all at once.
I got problem. I'm like 11 episodes behind on a couple of shows.
Right.
And in the app's already trying to stop downloading because I'm behind, right? And I'm like, no, I want these episodes. Give me the episode. Doggone.
I mean, a lot of the more advanced platforms, you can go in and set, download all episodes or download 10 or 12 or whatever.
Yeah, I've got it set. If I haven't listened to the last 5 episodes, stop downloading. I don't want all that. I don't need all that extra stuff. And it's good for me to, say, oh, I'm kind of missed some shows here. I need to force this to download them.
Well, Todd, and this is an interesting conversation because, I mean, if you think about Spotify and you think about these newer platforms, they don't even have this paradigm of discussion, right?
No.
I mean, it's like, people have consumed content like this for 15 or 14 or 13 years, right? Or 15 years, right? It gives you that flexibility to control how much of this content that you get or not. Going in the click play experience is not necessarily a better way of doing it. I mean, I think it's convenient, but not a better way.
Well, and I'm busy, so I have certain shows I want to listen to, and of course, my mom and I listened to one of the same shows. She, did you hear this on that? I said, Mom, I'm like 5 behind, and don't, no spoilers, please. Yeah.
Well, and it's also about engagement. It's also about commitment, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a part of it that I think that these folks that advocate streaming and advocate, no downloading and don't want to do subscriptions is that you're basically cutting yourself off at the knees is what you're doing by doing that because people are less committed.
I got people in my office that don't download. And they only actively play.
Right.
So,
but are they as engaged in that show or committed to that show or as those that have subscribed and download and control how many episodes come into their
think they say they are, but I also ask them how many episodes they're missing, and
it becomes a little bit more optional if you're not committed to the show.
Right.
Anyway, it's something for the industry to think about a little bit more as we move towards or move away from subscriptions.
Which actually I had someone on the phone a couple of days ago says, I don't want them. I want everyone to subscribe. He was very adamant about it. I don't want to give them the ability to play on the website. I was like, well, kind of hold on here.
Yeah, right. You don't have to go down that route.
We don't have to go that extreme.
Right. Yeah.
So, but anyway, we've hit our mark here. We're over at this point.
We are, Todd.
Yes, we are.
That was good. It was a good show.
Yeah, we've had a good audience today too.
I think we covered some good stuff.
Yeah, we did. If you guys thought we would give you what was the name? How did I title this on YouTube today? I said Oh, we did. We're doing podcast deconstruction today. If we did podcast deconstruction good and added value to your day, definitely hit the donation link at podcast or at newmediashow.com. We would definitely appreciate your nickels and pennies, or throw us a dime or whatever. And we definitely appreciate your support for the show. But Rob and I are off to Los Angeles in the next New Media Show. What's the actual date and time we're going to be live?
I believe it's going to be, let me look at the calendar here. I believe it's Saturday the 15th, and I think we're going to be live at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Okay, so just to remind you on that, and then we may only be on Facebook. We'll see how successful I am in getting us in other places, but plan on us only being on Facebook for the show next week. And of course, we'll simulcast both on my profile and on the New Media Show profile. I think I actually missed that today, so crap, I missed a step. But definitely watch us from Vegas. Who are we going to have? I mean, not Vegas, Los Angeles. Who are we having for guests?
A representative from podcastmusic.com,
okay,
Douglas, and a representative from Audio Burst.
Oh, awesome!
On the program, I'm trying to pull up their
two big fans of the show, and big fan of Audio Burst and what they're doing.
Right.
So very cool.
So Todd, will we be on StreamYard? Is that the plan?
I think we're going to use StreamYard. I think that's the goal. So see if we can get that upgrade, Rob.
Yes.
All right, everyone. You can find me, Todd, at blueberry.com, at Geek News on Twitter. Rob?
You can find me on Twitter as well, at Rob Greenlee. That's with 2 E's. And you can send me an email, robg@libsyn.com, if you want to reach out and talk a little podcasting. That'd be great.
And we want to thank you for your time. Send us your feedback, and we'll see you live in Los Angeles. If all the button, hopefully, man, got my fingers crossed. And we'll see you from there. But thanks for being part of the family here of podcasters. So we'll see you next week, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.